This is Dream Chasers, episode 54, with G. Edward Griffin. Hey guys, what's going on? I'm Adam Carswell, and welcome to Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future. On Dream Chasers, we interview individuals with supernatural amounts of potential based on early success in their careers. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's get straight to the interview. Hey guys, this is Adam Carswell, and today I'm joined by G. Edward Griffin. Edward is, or I should say Mr. G, as I'm going to call him throughout the interview, is originally from Detroit, Michigan, and he went to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. That's aside from the fact I actually just realized I forgot to say his main focus and why we have him here, and that's because he is the creator, the founder, the host of the Red Pill Expo. He now lives in Thousand Oaks, California. And Mr. G, thank you for being on the show, and do you have any opening remarks for our listeners?
Oh, well, thank you for inviting me. Opening remarks. Well, I don't know about opening remarks, except what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, we definitely want to talk about the Red Pill Expo and talk about some other thoughts, concepts, and ideas that I think have really drawn me to a lot of your work. Guys, he's also the author of a very famous book, I should say, The Creature From Jekyll Island. If you've never heard of it, go ahead and type it in a web search right now as we're going through this interview. Mr. G has done a lot of impressive things throughout his life, so we're going to get to tap into his mind a little bit today. Starting with the Red Pill Expo. When did you begin orchestrating this event?
That's a good question. It sounds like I ought to be able to give you a date and maybe a time of the day. But it was an idea that was growing, incubating over a long period of time. As you can imagine, a lot of things happen that way in life. A little background is necessary. First of all, I'll give you the short answer. The first Red Pill Expo was held in 2017, in June of 2017. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's where it really started, and we began to formulate the plans probably about 7 months ahead of that. But the idea has its genesis in the fact that the Red Pill Expo is a project of Freedom Force International. So we're really talking about a project of a group of people who are pretty dedicated. And when I say dedicated, people in Freedom Force have literally dedicated their lives, a major portion of their lives at least, to promoting the ideas in which they believe, the principles that they believe in, and they really want to make a difference in the world. They're scholars to a large extent. Most of us are readers. We are voracious readers. We can't find enough books to read. And these are not novels. These are not fun reading things. These are history books and biographies, philosophy books, but especially history. So that's all well and good. We have a creative freedom. We know what we think is wrong with the world, but more important, we think we know how to fix it. We think we know what a better world would be, which is kind of different because most people are pretty preoccupied with what they don't like, but they haven't the foggiest idea of what they want, except they don't want that. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the elections, especially in America of the last few decades. People don't vote for a candidate. They vote against candidates.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like any of them, but I really hate this one, so I'm going to vote for this one. And so forth. Nobody really has a principle that they can say, this is what I believe in. And so we thought, when I created Freedom Force International back in 2002, that we needed a creative freedom statement. This is what we believe in. This is what we think the world should be like and why and so forth. Okay, having said all that, it's a pretty serious organization, but it's small. And it's based on the principle that history is always determined by the few. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they get wrapped up in the idea that, oh my gosh, we'll never convince the masses. The masses have gone crazy. Well, the masses have always gone crazy. The masses always, and I use that word in the general sense. I mean, I'm part of the masses like everybody else, but the major groups of populations have always followed leaders, and they've always looked for leaders, and they want thought leaders, they want military leaders, they want social leaders to tell them what to do, and to a large extent, even what to think. History has always been written by the dedicated few who've really known what they want. And a perfect example is the United States of America. The Revolutionary War against Great Britain was led and engineered by probably 1/10, at least maybe 1/100th of 1% of the population. Mm. It's always that way throughout history. There are those thinkers, the dreamers, the planners, the organizers, the workers, the doers that get something moving, and then the rest of the population looks at it and says, hey, I like the looks of that. and they join in. In the United States, in the American Revolution, most of the people out there were sort of holding back. They said, gee, who's going to win? Whichever side wins, I'm going to be on that side. And it's always that way. We are not really upset by the fact that our numbers are so small. We expect that. But now, I'm finally coming to your question. Why Red Pill Expo? Part of understanding our opponents, and we think our opponents we call them what they really are, they're collectivists. They believe in the ideology of collectivism, that the group is more important than the individual. Once you understand that, you realize that communism, fascism, Nazism, socialism, all these isms are the same thing. They're all variants of collectivism. We have a lot of people in the United States who say they hate communism, fascism, socialism, but yet they go to the polls and they vote for candidates in the Democrat Party or the Republican Party who are collectivists the same. They believe in the same principles. They just don't know it. So that's so we think our opponent, we call them the collectivists, are very clever because they really have had a strategy that worked. They've really taken over all of the major power centers of the United States, literally of the world. And by power centers, I mean like political parties, government agencies, educational institutions, media centers, police, military, everything. The courts, the judicial system. You look at the heads of all of these power centers, and the people who are there running the show and making decisions are collectivists. And this is why the world is going down. It's collectivism, folks. It's collectivism. I mean collectivism. And did I say collectivism? This is it. So we understand the enemy, and the opposite of collectivism is individualism.
Right.
And we don't have time to go into all that, but it's a fascinating study. And so anyway, that's what we believe in. But we also know that the dedicated few needs the support of the total population. And in between the big population and that little dedicated few, like the tip of the arrow, you need somebody to be the hand, the rod of the arrow. You need something to carry the arrows in, and you need somebody to make the arrow, and so forth. You need a lot of people, maybe not at the very planning edge of all of this and the leadership edge, but a lot of people who are good people, know that what we have is wrong, and they like what your proposals are. We need them, and we need tens of thousands, not millions of those people, but they're never going to take an interest in learning all about this collectivism versus individualism stuff. The eyes get a little glazy, and they want to go watch, Dancing with the Stars,
or Game of Thrones or something. Right?
Yeah. So I'm not trying to be critical, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles in the population. So now, how do we build an organization around our organization that isn't quite so strict, quite so serious, but still right on target when it comes to ideology of collectivism versus individualism? There are millions of good people in that category, but we can't just go to them and say, come to our study groups and read our books and all of that stuff. Right. We have to have something that sounds a little entertaining. Okay, now I'm coming to your answer to your question. For a way to reach out to a larger group of people, and to do so in an intellectually honest way, an ideologically honest way, not to fool anybody or anything like that, but to take our core beliefs and our programs and our goals and redo them and represent them in a more entertaining way, and something that's less overpowering. So the idea came, what about the red pill meme? From the movie The Matrix.
Yeah.
Everybody says, take the red pill, wake up to reality. Why don't we rephrase the main things we're talking about in that context? I wonder if people would be more interested in that and come to hear what we had to say. So that's how it happened. It was just a strategy of creating a larger ring around ourselves with more of an entertaining and accessible theme than collectivism versus individualism. So we thought we'd give it a try in November of 2017 and see if anybody would come. And blow me down, we were so surprised. It was a wildly successful event. We held it in a little town called Bozeman, Montana, thinking nobody would come to Bozeman. It was a beautiful town, and a lot of people we knew had always wanted to go to Montana, but never had any reason to. So we thought, well, we'll give them a reason to. And they came literally from all over the world. We had people from Europe, Asia, Africa, Canada, everywhere they came, but mostly, of course, from the United States. And it was a wildly successful meeting, and people walked away saying, boy, we got to do this again. So that's how it started. And we thought, well, we will do it again. And now this is 2 years later, and we have Red Pill Expo 2019. And that'll be in Hartford, Connecticut.
Awesome.
So that's how it happened. I'm sorry to take so long to explain it, but I think it's important to know why we did it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And there are so many topics that we just hit on that I wish we had 3 hours to sit here and do a Joe Rogan style podcast. But we'll stay focused on the Red Pill for now. And if anything else trickles in there, awesome. Next, it's time for us to step into the next level chamber. When did you realize, since that moment, that November 2017, was there a defining moment from then until now where you were like, wow, this is something that I really want to take to the next level?
Well, yes, there was a really defining moment, and that was the morning of the first day of the first expo. When I walked into that auditorium, it was the biggest one in Bozeman. I was very impressed and surprised that there was a huge facility there in Bozeman. And it reminded me of the kind of a place you would hold like a Republican National Convention meeting. I mean, it was huge.
Yeah.
Thousands and, space for thousands of people. We had exhibitors there. I walked in there and I looked around and said, oh my gosh, the place is packed. Huh? What? Wow. But that was the moment. I knew that something had worked. Now it was up to us to figure out exactly what it was and to do justice to it. We walked out of there thinking, we can't just let this happen once a year. We have to perpetuate this. And so out of that, Adam, came the idea that we'll create a Red Pill University. It's like the Red Pill Expo, except it's every day of the year. We have campuses in local communities, all of that. So, you have one success, you build on that, and then you get more ideas, more successes. And so we're really on the road.
Nice. And so with Red Pill University as well, if you could just say it to our listeners or share it with me right now, anyone that wants to go take a look further into Red Pill University, how can they get some more information on that?
Well, that's really complicated. You have to go on the internet and type in Red Pill University .org, of course.
Okay.
That's it. Now, I have to warn everybody, it's very much in development now. It's a little bit crude, but you'll get the idea. It's underway. I might as well say right now that our Red Pill Expo this year in Hartford, Connecticut, it's going to be a huge event, and already we know it's going to be hugely successful. But we know also that most people, unless they live in the northeastern states, they can't go to Hartford, Connecticut and spend 3 days and a lot of money. So if they want to watch the whole event in the comfort of their homes, they can do that quite simply just by becoming a student at Red Pill University. And one of the benefits of being a student at the mentor level or above, which costs $25. That's what it costs on a monthly tuition basis. So for $25, they can enroll as a student at the mentor level for 1 month if you don't want to continue. And you'll be able to watch the whole expo on your computer or on your TV screen. So we're trying to make it as accessible as possible so everybody can attend either in person or by video.
Yeah, good to know. We will get that information in the show notes for sure for anyone to take a closer look at that. I think I'll be tuning in now. You've got me really interested with some of these things that we were talking, that you were mentioning before, the simple concept of collectivism versus individualism. And that is something that I just, for me, I take so personally. Again, things like your book really help open my eyes to ideas like this. I think that the best way to lead or to show someone this way of thinking is to lead by example, is to show them what you're doing, talk about what you're doing, talk about things like the Red Pill Expo, hopefully get that paradigm shift for someone who's used to, maybe not, as you mentioned, not even really used to being a collectivist, get them thinking, wow, what am I? And I don't know if that's a question or just a statement, but do you have any thoughts on that, what I just said?
Well, that's it, exactly. Not everybody is interested in that question, by the way.
Right.
You are, I am, but I'm here to tell you, I've talked to a lot of people that they can hardly wait till you get onto something interesting. Like the latest score.
Well, we just joked about it before the call. I'm from Ohio originally. You're Michigan, and so we're supposed to be big rivals when it comes to college football. And I get into it, but I mean, hey, what you said, you're like, I don't follow.
It's all a game. It's make believe, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, it's just a game. And people get into these games and they think eventually they begin to think that's reality.
Yes.
When it's not. And of course, now we're back to the red pill theme. Let's see reality. Let's get rid of these games and see what's really going on in our lives. Are the important thing. And yes, but eventually there'll be probably 1 to 15% of the people who are going to say, yeah, what am I? What do I believe? And that it'll really start to infect their mind. They want to figure it out. And those are the people that we're really trying to reach, because they're the ones that are going to make a difference in the world in the future.
And in regards to the world making a pivotal change in regards to its outlook, and I should say, first of all, too, the way that we're leaning, the way that we believe to begin with, who knows? Like, we could be completely wrong, right? And the other way could be...
We've always reserved the right to be wrong. All of us have been wrong more times than we want to admit.
Right.
But that doesn't stop us from having, strong convictions at the moment.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And so with that being said, you've been in this freedom-focused space for a while. And so do you think that what's happening right now in regards to people, quote unquote, waking up or taking this red pill, is the change actually significant? Is there a big movement starting to occur, or is it kind of feel like it's the same thing, just taking a new form?
No, it's definitely different. It is ramping up, and it's getting larger and deeper. That's the important thing to me. You can get a lot of people riled up over something, but they don't know what to do about it. They think that, oh, well, things are really bad. Let's get a new president.
Yeah. We won't. Yeah. Sure. That'll. Yeah.
Yes. Like one man. One man is going to change everything. There's going to be a new leader on the white horse. And this is what's been killing America, is that we're going on personalities and smiles and slogans instead of getting back to the question, what do I believe in, and what does this candidate believe in? Mm-hmm. What are the things that are going to direct his decisions and affect your life? So So I see this awakening very, very encouraging to me. But at the same time, it's important to make sure that those of us in this movement do everything possible to keep it from just resorting back to that old losing game. Well, who are you going to vote for? Pick your candidate without realizing that all the candidates have been picked already before you get to even look at the list.
Right.
Yeah. Who are the candidates? I got to pick one. They never think about they should have a role in determining who the candidates are before they get on the list.
One of my favorite quotes from our mutual friend Jeff Berwick is, "Presidents are not elected; they're selected."
Well, that's true. They are selected.
Yeah,
there's nobody that gets to be president without having to make deals with very powerful and wealthy forces that they don't want to talk about. And,
speaking of these powerful and wealthy forces, we're really might take a quick step here behind the veil. I've seen a few interviews with you where you've discussed moments and times in your life where the work that you're doing, you have received some threats from some of these anonymous forces. Would you be open to sharing any insight on that topic?
Well, Adam, that surprises me, because I don't believe I've ever said that, because I haven't had any serious threats. I've had some crank telephone calls or something.
Okay.
But you must be confusing me with somebody else.
I'm confusing you now that I think about it with Ali Demigard.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, Ali. Yeah. But for me, it has not been that way, which has been kind of surprising.
Right.
And almost disappointing, because I figured that I must not be doing it right, The only people they go after and try and ruin in the public mind are those that are posing a threat to what they're trying to do. So I guess they either think that I'm not a threat, or maybe they're afraid of me, huh?
Right.
No, I don't think so. But anyway, the idea, even if I had been under threat, let's talk about that.
Right.
And this can be very serious, because I know how the opposition plays. First thing they do is they ignore their opposition. And in 9 times out of 10, that's all they need to do, because people like us are little flashes in the pan, and then we're gone, because we have no resources. We have no money. We won't have these millions and billions of dollars like our opponents do. And so we can't build an organization. And so, there we are. And then, whatever happened to so-and-so? Well, I don't know. He's gone now. So they just ignore people like us. And that's all they have to do in most cases. Now, if somebody manages to survive and grow and develop a following and develop independent sources of financial support, Now they have to deal with you. So the next step is to ruin you in the public mind. And that they'll call you racist. They'll call you a womanizer. They'll call you, I don't know, they'll think of something, a tax evader, some kind of a sex deviant. I don't know, a white supremacist. I mean, they got all these
some kind of label. Yeah.
Yeah, label. They pick 1 or 2 and 3 and run with it. And unfortunately, much of the population says, "Oh, really? Gee, you seem like such a nice person. I didn't know you were guilty of that." So that usually works. I mean, that'll just knock you out of the saddle, you know. But the few that can manage to survive through that, now the next step usually, or often I should say, is to buy them, and that happens in some very indirect ways. I saw one organization that was purchased without them knowing about it. And that means that there was somebody that came in with large donation and said, "I like what you're doing, and I want to help you." And so here's, I don't know what the amount was, but I think it was well over $2 million. Are you interested? Well, yeah, am I interested? Of course I'm interested. We could do all these wonderful things if we had $2 million. And oh, by the way, all I ask is that maybe I or one of my friends could be on your board of directors. And we could suggest, here's a bright young fellow that's willing to go to work as your CEO or your organizer. You know, we got some great people we could put in your staff, and we'll even pay their salaries, you know, at least to get them started. Well, the first thing you know, and it all looks so good because these people look like they were sincere. 5 years later, the whole board of directors was taken over by collectivists, and the donor, was laughing all the way back to base camp.
Right.
So that's one way. And the other way is just to buy a person off, say, "Look, you can't win this battle, but you've done a good job. So we'll give you a job in this law firm, and you can have an office and a couple of secretaries with mini skirts and everything. And you don't have to do anything, but we'll pay you $200,000 a year and a nice bonus package. And we just want you to go away and enjoy yourself," and that kind of thing. And a lot of people say, okay, I've done my share. I'll take that up. All right. The next step, if that does not work, well, then they bring in the jackals, and then they start playing dirty, and they arrange to have somebody disappeared or become very ill or shot or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, I can, as you play out all those scenarios, I feel like I've seen and heard and observed those scenarios happening.
Oh, yeah, they happen all the time. And if you can read between the lines, and if you know any of the background facts, in many cases, it's right in your daily newspaper, and it's happening all the time.
Yeah. Well, it all starts with awareness, right?
It starts with awareness. And so I guess the reason I went into all that is because I thought to myself many times, what would I do if I did have these kinds of threats? Right. And so I can't honestly say, because some of those include threats to your family, threats to your loved ones. You know, you have a very beautiful wife. It would be too bad if something happened to her and your children. They're such nice children, and we do know where you live, but it would be terrible if something happened to them. These things happen. I mean, this, right out of The Godfather. This is real.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And the other, so I don't know if I thought that they were going to deliver and it was going to cost the life of my loved ones. I think a lot of good people back away at that point. But I do know this, Adam, that I'm fortunate in that I never had to go into battle. I was in the military for a couple of years, and if they had given me a gun and said, "Okay, go kill the enemy," I'd have taken a deep breath. I was kind of uninformed in those days. I thought, I'm going to serve my country, right? I'm going to protect freedom, right?
Right.
I would have done it if I could have, but fortunately I was never called to do that. But, hundreds of thousands of men have had to do that, and they've lost their lives defending their country and their countrymen, at least. And all I have to do is say, "You mean I wouldn't take a risk? I'm going to go hide because something bad might happen to me? What kind of a human being am I?" But this is a war we're in. It's a real war. It's big as World War I or II, and perhaps even more so, because this is the real thing. There are no phonies on either side. The issues are right out in the open. It's collectivism versus individualism. It's not this country versus that country.
Right.
It affects the whole world. So it's a big battle, and you can't run from it.
Right. Yeah, we're here. We're spreading. This is what we can do. Right. This is it.
We can do. So let's get to work and do it really well.
That's right. Perfect. All right. Well, I got 3 fun questions for you to close this one out. And give everyone a way to feel like they got to know you a little bit more here, Mr. G. So the first one, I'm curious, what is your favorite thing about Thousand Oaks, California, especially because we all know about the beautiful tax laws in that state? Your favorite takeaway from publishing The Creature from Jekyll Island, and your favorite thing about hosting the Red Pill Expo?
Well, let's see. The thing about Thousand Oaks is kind of faded now, because the thing I liked about it most was that it was way out in the country. It was out of the city. But that was 50 years ago. And now, of course, the city has caught up with it. And
right. Yeah.
I like it. It's not like being downtown. It's sort of a rural setting here. We're very lucky. It's like the rest of the world's going to hell, but everything looks good here. We don't have any riots. We don't have very much crime. Although we did have a big shooting here, in Thousand Oaks. It was big in the news a few months ago, last year, I guess. Anyway, that was very rare. But all of that is gradually going away because the city is catching up to us. And even, the people moving into this town, the old folks die, the new ones come in, and they're products of the modern education system. Culture is changing and all of that. But anyway, Thousand Oaks is still a great place to live. So that's why I'm here.
Perfect.
And the next one was, what was the other thing?
Your favorite takeaway from publishing your most popular book? Oh,
well, that's easy. My favorite thing about publishing The Creature from Jekyll Island is that people liked it. I was surprised. I thought, well, I'm sure I can develop at least 4 or 5 sales. I'd buy one copy, and my mother will buy one, my father will buy one. And so I was blown away when I saw these sales orders coming in. Bing, 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 bing. And I knew I had made it when I saw the order that came in from the Federal Reserve System. They wanted to buy a copy of my book. That was a big day for me.
Yeah. I wonder what they think about it.
Well, I have a pretty good idea. I think they're not worried about it. I think they probably respect it, and they say, this is the opposition. Oh, well, we don't have to worry about that. We're still in control.
Well, we shall see.
Yeah. And the third question again was
your favorite thing about hosting the Red Pill Expo.
Oh, that's pretty easy to answer too. My favorite takeaway from the Red Pill Expo is I think we have hit the combination. We cracked the code to reach out to huge numbers of people. And if we just have enough time, which is the big question, how much time we need, I don't know. But every day that goes by and we're still in the battle is wonderful, because we need as much time as we can. But given that we have enough time, I think that we can turn this around using strategies such as the Red Pill Expo. And that's not the only thing, but that would allow us to reach large numbers of people and possibly even circumvent and bypass this controlled media, which is essential, because if we allow the collectivists to have dominance over the communications channels, then we cannot win, because nobody gets to hear what we're saying.
Right.
We're put in a box and the lid is nailed down and nobody can hear us. We're in a what was that noise? So that's my takeaway from Red Pill. I think we've cracked the code, and if we can just keep ramping this up and have enough time to do it, we can turn this thing around.
I like it, and I agree. It's the power of one. It all starts with one person, one movement, one thing.
Yeah.
Here we go. What's the best way for anyone listening to follow up and get in touch with you?
Well, the first thing is let's talk about the Red Pill Expo. You can get more information about that by going to redpillexpo.net. Okay.
All right.
Expo.net. That'll take you to the main page. You can see who the speakers are this year and see all of the excitement that's being built around that. As far as contacting me, those who are interested in the strategy to organize and defeat collectivist and entrenched places, that would be to go to freedomforceinternational.org. freedomforceinternational.org. That's the little group that's sort of in the center of all this. And we have nothing to sell there. It's just a think tank. It's ideas, strictly. Mm-hmm. And then for books and video recordings and audio recordings to document and provide the history and the rationale behind everything that we're doing, the website would be Reality Zone. So that's realityzone.com.
Okay.
And lots of them. And then, of course, don't forget Red Pill University.
Right. I've got Thankfully, I can go back and I can watch through this and write them all down and get them ready for the show notes.
Well, I'd love to see people come to all four of them, but a good place to start would be redpillexpo.net.
Definitely. Well, perfect. Mr. G, thank you once again for joining us today on Dream Chasers Interviews with the Future.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Guys, thank you for tuning in to Dream Chasers. We will catch you in the next episode. And remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.